Okay, so I'm 27. I'm 27, engaged, and kind of in one of those long distance relationships that feels like its own full time job sometimes. My fiance lives in England, and I'm here in the US, which means I get to see him about 3 times a year for these long stretches, like 6 weeks at a time. And he manages to squeeze in 4 shorter visits here, around a week each. It's weird, but kind of worked for us so far. We're aiming for a September 2025 wedding, so less than 2 years away now, which is honestly both exciting and overwhelming at the same time. Like, how did we even get here? Sometimes it feels surreal. Anyway, he asked my parents for their blessing back in March 2024. It was a pretty big deal and honestly a little nerve wracking. My parents are, well, they're traditional enough to care about that kind of thing, but they also tend to brush off my feelings a lot, which is honestly another layer of frustration I'm still learning to handle. I wanted to keep the whole engagement and wedding planning stuff really private and full of little surprises, especially since my fiance's pretty particular about what details he wants to know ahead of time. I figured if I could keep some things vague, like when exactly he'd propose or what the wedding dress would look like, it'd help keep the excitement alive for both of us, you know? Okay, so here's where things started to mess up. A week or so after the blessing, my dad randomly dropped the bomb about when the proposal was supposed to happen, December 2024. Like, he just casually mentioned it during a phone call, as if it was common knowledge or no big deal. I kind of froze because I was honestly shocked and weirdly annoyed. Part of me wanted to be all, why would you ruin the surprise? But another part was just hurt that the moment I'd been looking forward to, all the mystery, the buildup, was taken away from me. I had really hoped to spend the year kind of guessing and being excited, like rolling around all that anticipation. Instead, boom. Exact month and year dropped like a spoiler on a show I wanted to binge blind. I'm not going to lie, at first I felt dramatic about being upset. I kept telling myself it's just a timing thing. Big deal. But deep down, it sucked. Especially because my mom just completely dismissed it all. When I told her I was upset, she basically called me dumb and dramatic, said it was obvious the proposal would be at Christmas, when both families would be together, and that I was just overreacting like I always do whenever things aren't exactly perfect. I mean, it's one thing for my dad to spill details, but getting invalidated by my mom like that felt like a double whammy. Looking back, I think part of what stung the most was feeling ignored. Like, yeah, the timing being revealed early was annoying and messed up the surprise, but it wasn't just that. It was the complete lack of empathy. She didn't try to understand that for me. This event was special, something I wanted to savor quietly, not have laid out in a calendar reminder by the people closest to me. I wanted those joyful what-ifs floating around, the excitement of a surprise proposal, and now it just felt concrete and spoiled. And honestly, I started wondering, what if he had proposed earlier, though? Like maybe before December? I mean, he's totally capable of surprising me at any time. But now that the cat is out of the bag, the magic is kind of gone. You know, Christmas might have been this perfect moment to celebrate both families. But instead, it just feels like a boring deadline. It's like we lost one of the most fun parts, the surprise engagement party vibe, the unknowing joy. On top of that, wedding planning has become this weird mix of fun and frustration. Like, it should be exciting, right? But honestly, it feels more like a chore lately, like a bunch of logistics and disappointments stacked on top of each other. Something about planning when you're juggling a long-distance relationship makes it harder. But then not having my family on my side, emotionally, that just makes it worse. Trying to get them to understand that I need the small surprises is like talking to a wall sometimes. Especially my mom. So throw back to March, when my fiancé asked for the blessing. It was supposed to be this sweet, quiet moment, like I thought my family respected that and would hold on to the secret with me. But nope, the whole thing spiraled when my dad let the proposal timing slip right after. That was what kicked off all my frustration. I mean, I get it, maybe they thought I already knew, or it was harmless, but it wasn't to me. And then the confrontation with my mom, the one where it felt like she gaslit me, That really sucked. I wasn't even calling her out directly, but trying to say, hey, can you please just understand that I'm actually hurt here? And she basically said I was overreacting, like I always do with silly feelings. It felt like she was dismissing every single emotion I was having about it, like I'm this dramatic kid instead of an adult who just wants to feel seen. I honestly I honestly can't remember the last time a major thing going on in my life was validated by her without her turning it back on me. Maybe it's always been like that, and I just never noticed until now because this feels bigger. Wedding planning stuff kept piling on after that. There were more things going wrong or just out of order, details lost, vendor emails ignored, mixed family opinions, and it all just made me feel kind of defeated. Like no matter how much I put in, it doesn't feel like a joyful process anymore. I'm managing the logistics, the guest list, the flights back and forth, and amid all that, dealing with emotional tension at home too. So cut to this week. My fiancé is here for his usual one-week visit, which should have been a fun break, but of course, family drama followed right along. We were just hanging out on the couch when my mom randomly asked me, out of nowhere, if I'd picked up my veil from the bridal store yet. And I swear this just hit me like a punch in the gut because this is another detail she was never supposed to mention. My fiancé hadn't even been told I was wearing a veil. He's the type who wants all the fun wedding surprises, so I try to keep as much under wraps as I can. He actually looked surprised and said, "Oh, you're wearing a veil?" Like, legit surprised. And in that moment, I felt myself lose it a little. Because this wasn't just the veil. It was everything. It was a whole stack of wedding secrets my mom kept leaking, despite me asking her repeatedly to just stop. So I told her firmly, but probably more sharply than I intended, please don't say anything about the dress, shoes, or any other wedding stuff. I want to keep it a surprise for him. I really tried to be calm, but you could tell I was frustrated. She just rolled her eyes and walked away, like zero apology or care. About 10 minutes later, she muttered a half-hearted sorry, but honestly, it felt like she said it just to shut me up or out of obligation, not because she understood. I just sighed and said, it's fine, I'm used to it at this point. And yeah, that's the honest truth. I'm so tired of this pattern. After that, she locked herself in her room, which again is something she does whenever she wants to avoid conflict or basically remove herself from the situation. It leaves me sitting there feeling shut out and exhausted. I don't know. I guess the main thing is I feel like the special moments of this entire engagement and wedding, the proposal surprise, the dress reveal, are getting kind of ruined by careless family behavior. It's like the people who should be most excited for me and protective of these memories just don't get it, and it hurts. It feels like they don't really value my experience or my feelings the way I do theirs. I keep comparing this to how things were with my older sister's wedding, and honestly, the contrast makes it worse because my mom was so different then. More supportive, more careful. My fiancé is mild-mannered and sweet. He really wanted the surprise veil moment, and now that's off because of my mom. And I'm the one left trying to pick up the pieces and figure out how to make all this work when it feels like I'm invisible in my own wedding story. Like, is it really so much to ask for some emotional support and respect for my wishes? And yeah, I'm wondering if I'm being overly sensitive or dramatic here. Am I overreacting? Maybe I am, but it just feels like these moments matter, you know? I don't want to be someone who ruins her own happiness by pushing too hard for control or being too fragile. But at the same time, I feel a deep sense of loss for the joy I thought this process would bring. So right now, I'm physically and emotionally distant from my mom. She's locked herself away, and the whole house feels quieter and colder. The wedding is still happening, but the excitement I hoped for is kind of buried under layers of frustration and disappointment. AITA here? Should I just let all this go and stop caring so much about the surprises and feelings? Or is it okay to want these things respected and cherished, especially by my own family? I honestly don't know anymore.